we put AI onto it, it's just not going to work because of these legacy systems, because of this technical debt that has been built up over many, many years in these companies. Putting AI on top of that, on top of poor processes, poor data, and lots of technical debt and lots of complexity, a large multinational probably has bigger budgets, whereas a startup actually don't have any of these problems.
Hey everyone. Today's guest went from Deloitte, HSBC, and KPMG to training the next gen of finance professionals in Power BI, AI, and everything Microsoft forgot to teach them. He helps bridge the gap between finance teams and emerging tech like AI, Fabric, and Power BI. He won the MVP in 2020. He's a frequent speaker and a YouTube creator. And in today's episode, we are going to talk about how reshaping work, AI beyond the buzzwords, the broken state of corporate training, and how to build trust as a solo founder in a world full of noise. Rishi, great having you here. If you had to teach one thing in a room full of founders tomorrow, what would it be?
I think it would be really around trying to really understand the requirements. Because if you look at all of these companies that want to adopt AI, and you take a large multinational and you take a startup, the large multinational probably has bigger budgets and can hire in companies like Accenture to come in and build digital transformation. And this is what we sell as Accenture. But the real challenge with that is when we go in and sell digital transformation for a company, we do that often without necessarily knowing what's really on the ground. What's their data like? What's their processes like? How much time do these people have to be able to invest in digital transformation and improving their processes? And how much work is involved? How can we connect it to their systems? And we kind of sell this top vision and then we have to work out how to deliver it. And it's really hard because of these legacy systems, because of this technical debt that has been built up over many, many years in these companies. And that makes something like putting AI on top of that, on top of poor processes, poor data, and lots of technical debt and lots of complexity, and you put AI onto it, it's just not going to work. Whereas a startup actually don't have any of these problems. They're coming at it completely new. So they might not have the same budgets and might not have the same digital transformation strategy and vision, but they're not burdened with that technical debt. They're not burdened with all of that stuff that comes with it. So actually they can apply a much fresher way of looking at things. So the advice I'd give to founders coming into it is look at processes, look at how they're done, and then think, okay, if I'm doing this from scratch today and I have access to do it blue sky, however I'd want to do it, how would I do it today? Right? What would be the simplest way that I could do it? And how can I do it in a way that actually, how can I build an agent to do it that will not just work with my specific data and my specific process, but could actually work with another company? Obviously, slight tweaking, different context. Yeah, sure. But how can that work generic? I think that's going to be the future of work. That's going to be
That's very good. You have Microsoft Fabric, Power BI, AI. What's overhyped and what's underused?
There's a big focus on AI with all this stuff. And there is an element of hype in a sense, right? Microsoft are obviously trying to really promote Copilot in every single product. And it's quite confusing for people, I think, because there's not just one Copilot, there's hundreds of Copilots. And I think some of the perception sometimes is that they're prioritizing that over everything else. And some of the foundations still need to be built properly in terms of enterprise scalability for data platforms and reporting solutions. In terms of what's underhyped, I think it's really the value that you can get off democratizing this stuff. So the idea of Fabric. So we've always had data platforms. The idea is that Microsoft have this mantra called discipline at the core, flexibility at the edge. So what it means is that you want to give people the flexibility to be able to put their own logic in, like with Power BI or Excel even, to be able to share it in a secure way, to be able to use low code and no code environments, to be able to build their logic in, to be able to shape the data, ingest it, transform it, combine it. But you need to have that core discipline. And that's kind of where Fabric sits in. It says, well, okay, let's take all your data, whether it's coming from spreadsheets, ERPs, legacy systems, let's bring it into a single data lake that operates across the entire business. So that's what Power BI is, that's what Fabric is. And so that move towards software as a service is where it's reduced the complexity, reduced the abstracted away all of that complexity and technical detail that needs to go into it.
What made you launch Learn Data Insights? So
I wanted to build not just blogs and YouTube videos. I wanted to build kind of interactive e-learning and make it really kind of, I was quite inspired by both by some of the corporate e-learning. I know people don't generally like it very much. We know all the kind of interactive LMS software. And then also I did an MBA with a company called Quantic, and it was all taught through a mobile app, like quizzes and questions. And this kind of thing gave me a lot of inspiration for this is a really effective way of learning. I can't sit there and watch hours longs of lectures and read books. I just don't have the attention span for it. So how can I make learning more interactive? And invested money and time into e-learning software products and quiz software, which is where it really started with LDI. And so I kind of ran it as a way, as an outlet to be able to do things like that. And those things take time. They need money, they need structure, they need all the rest of these things. But my idea was that if I can build all of these things in a business, I can then use those to provide different types of products and services to the community for free as well.
And how big is your community? How big is the community right now?
I think when I first started, I had 2018, 2019, 2020. I think I put together some Power BI quizzes, and I had over 100,000 quiz attempts, right? And like 50, 70,000 people, I think, taking quizzes. So in that sense, huge. But actually, how engaged were those people? How many people just came on, did a quiz, and then never came back, or passed the exam and never engaged? So then I've really started to try and focus more on niches and actually try and make it applicable, because I think that's where the real value lies. There's so much content and it's so overwhelming, and you could put out generic content and reach the whole audience. But actually, what I think is more effective is in trying to really bring it back to where people are, meet people where they are. And those people, it's weird, because when I start to get outside of the tech bubble I live in, and you realize that the other 95% of the population just are not as engaged. They just don't sit there and watch Power BI and Fabric videos on the weekend. So they're busy with their day jobs. They're in Excel. They're doing what they need to do. How do we bring those people into this world? And it's a complex world. There's a lot there. It's changing at such a pace. So that was really where I've started to build communities, smaller niche communities, if you like.
And lastly, what's one book or podcast you would recommend to our viewers listening in?
I've got these they're comic book versions of Sapiens, and it's not a business book, but the reason I recommend it is because it really makes you think about what's real and what's fiction, right? So, it talks about the history of humanity and how we actually, the reason we are the top of the food chain, if you like, is because of our ability to connect with people through stories, but bringing it back to its fundamentals. What is real and what is fiction? What is man-made? What have we grown into these huge complex operations and processes and systems that we have to all live in versus what is real?
Fantastic. Well said. Rishi, great having you on the show. Thank you very much.